Good morning, teachers, students, and honored guests. Welcome to the Masters College Remembrance Day Assembly. Out of respect, we ask that there will be no applause or any photography or videotaping in the audience during this assembly. As Canadians, we gather every year on November 11th to remember those who have lost their lives in war in defense of our freedom. My name is Scott, and I, along with Bailey, will be your MCs for today. Please rise and join us as we sing our Canadian national anthem.
Please be seated. During World War I, when John McRae of the Canadian Army noticed the poppies bloomed on the war-ravaged Flanders field in the European country of Belgium. In response to this observation, Dr. McRae wrote the poem In Flanders Field. As a result of this famous poem, the scarlet poppy quickly became the symbol of soldiers who died in battle. Please remain seated as Azalea Rutherford and Juliana Bryn present In Flanders Field. Following this, we invite the grade 9 music class as they perform Knockin' on Heaven's Door.
Bent double, like old beggars under sacks, knock-kneed, coughing like hags, we cursed through sludge, till on the haunting flares we turned our backs, and toward our distant rest began to trudge. Men marched asleep, many had lost their boots, but limped on, bloodshot. All went lame, all blind, drunk with fatigue. Deaf even to the hoots of gas shells dropping softly behind.
In Flanders Field, the poppies blow between the crosses row on row that mark our places, and in the sky the larks, still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below.
Gas! Gas! Quick, boys, in ecstasy of fumbling, fitting the clumsy helmets just in time. But someone still was yelling out and stumbling and floundering like a man in fire or lime. Dim through the misty plains and thick green light, as under a green sea, I saw him drowning.
We are the dead.
In all my dreams, before my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning.
Short days ago, we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields.
If in some smothering dreams you too could pace behind that wagon that we flung him in, and watch the wet eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face, like a devil sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from the froth-corrupted lungs, obscene as cancer, bitter as the cut of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues. My friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children ardent for some desperate glory, the old lie, dulce et decorum est pro patria mori.
Take up our quarrel with the foe, from youth To you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders field.
For me, I can't use it anymore. It's getting dark, too dark to see. Feels like I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, knocking on heaven's door. Take these guns away from me. I can't shoot them anymore. There's a long black cloud following me. Feels like I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knock, knock, 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 knocking on heaven's door.
Thank you. I'd like to now invite Corporal James Blake to the stage to share some of his story.
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for having me in today to speak to you. I almost didn't make it here in that snowstorm we got outside, but I got here, and you're going to have a hard time getting rid of me. Anyways, I have an awful lot of things I want to tell you, but I'll start off with my father. He was in World War I in the horse artillery, and I believe that his gun could have been firing on Vimy Ridge on that day. And so we always remember it. And I also have a picture of my dad who was taken 100 years ago over in Vimy. I wear that now whenever I go on something like this. And so anyways, he went through that part. And then when World War II started, he was sitting in the living room listening to the radio, because that's all we had, no TV. And they announced that Canada had declared war on, England had declared war on Germany. And he just jumped out of his chair and ran straight over to the armories, which was in walking distance, to enlist in the army again. They turned him down. They said, Ernie, you're 50 years old. You're too old, so you can't go. So he joined the Veterans Guard. He was guarding the German prisoners as they were bringing them over to Canada. And he did that for a few years, and then he got medically discharged because he had something went wrong with him. And so he sat back and took it easy. And when getting near the end of the war, my brother, who was 5 years older than me, he enlisted in the regular force, but he was still just a bit too young to go overseas, so they sent him to a trade school. And while he was there, the war in Europe with Germany, it ended. So right away, all the students that were at this trade school signed on to go to the Pacific. They wanted to fight Japanese. And they still had some more training to do. And so before he could get that all done, the war with Japan ended, so he never even left Ontario. Poor guy, eh? So a few years later, when the Korean War started, I asked my dad if it'd be okay if I went down and joined up, because I was 19 at the time. And he said if I was young enough, I'd go with you. So I said, right. So I went down and enlisted in the regular Canadian Army. And I said I wanted to be a tank driver. So they sent me to either Petawawa, which is in Ontario, or Strathcona, out here in Calgary. And I said, where's Calgary? Yeah, right. So I went to the RCDs in Petawawa, and the Strathconas went to Korea. So I missed going there. But then the RCDs formed a special squadron to go over to Europe and Germany and stare down the Russians in the Cold War for 2 years. So I did that, and while I was, while I was there, I got married and had the start of a family. And so anyway, we won't mess around with that. But we got married there and everything else, and we come back from Germany. And my time was up then with the regular force, so I just got out of the Army. And then I was getting kind of bored with delivering bread and stuff like that. So my wife and I sat down one week every night, and we discussed going back into the Army again. And of course, the women, when they marry a soldier, they don't marry just a soldier, they marry the Army. So she took part in the discussions too, and we finally decided that we would go back into the Army. So I went back in there, but instead of going to driving tanks, I went into repairing tanks, and I had to take a course in Kingston. And I finished that, and I got posted out here to Calgary to the workshop here. If you might remember, just across the road, there used to be like a tank hangar, well, it was a tank hangar that we had there. And that's where I used to do my job, repairing the tanks as they broke down. And carried on for that for about 3 years, and then we decided, well, let's go back to Germany again. So we applied to go back to Germany, and we got picked up, and away we went over there with the artillery this time. And I couldn't figure why I was with the artillery, because I was a tank mechanic, and they didn't have any tanks. So after a while, they decided to send me to the armored outfit, which was just down the road in another camp. And I spent the rest of my time, my 3 years in Germany. And then we got posted back to Calgary again, and right back into the work. You know, sorry, this time I was with the Strathconas, but I was repairing their tanks too. So that's basically what I did for the rest of my career. Was just traveling all over the place. I went to Cyprus too, by the way, for 6 months. Over there we were keeping the Greeks and the Turks from fighting, so that's what I had this one medal for. Never had any problems with them. By the way, if you ever look at the world map, you probably won't see Cyprus at all. It's not very big. It's only about 60 miles long and 25 miles wide. I don't see why they're fighting over it. There's nothing much there to fight for. But anyways, I did my 6 months, and the United Nations people there, when you get posted over there after your 3 months is up, you paid your, you get your medal for that. The Canadian government, they can't do it that way. They have to wait till you're out and dead before they give you a medal. I can tell you this one over on this side here, that's my service medal. It took me 12 years to get that one. The next one is the Cyprus medal. This one I did in 6 months. The next one now is the peacekeeping medal, the Canadian peacekeeping medal of all times. I got out of the Army after 22 years in there, went to work with the Calgary Board of Education for 23 years, retired from there, retired in Calgary here with everybody else. All of a sudden they come along and presented us with this medal after all these years. And the one over here with NATO on it, that was put out by the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and that came in the mail. Oh, there was a big updoable, that'll tell you. Oh no, we don't send our medals through the mail, we present them. So that was my last one anyways, was my peacekeeping medal. And other than that, I have done some traveling. Oh, I did go to Vimy Ridge, by the way. Better slip that in there. There was 27 veterans from across Canada who were chosen to go over on this tour. And I'd like to thank everybody here, please, for paying your taxes. Not you kids, you're not there yet, eh? But that's right. So anyways, it was a free trip. And this little gadget that I have here is a PIN, identity disc, that if you left the hotel for some reason or other, you went out, and if you didn't have that pinned on you, you couldn't get back in again. So I wear it wherever I go now. This is the way I was all the time I was over there. And I had some good pictures taken, and I had an interview with a recorder, with a guy for an hour. All kinds of stuff he asked me there too. He asked me about my trip to Germany, and I said, well, I said, sir, I said, I was single when, I was single when I come over, and I was triple when I come out. So, yeah, and so that's about the thing there. But there's a lot of stories too about a lot of friends who I knew in the forces who have passed away. One was a very, very close friend of mine that was working with me when we were up in Fort St. John, BC. And we were both mechanics, and we were living in the same truck and everything else. And we'd known each other for quite a while. Well, this one evening, we decided to go into town, so we went in and had a few beers or something. And Walt was his name. He says, well, I'm going back out to the truck. He says, and I'll see you later. And I says, okay, I'll be along. So after a while, I decided, well, maybe it's time to go back. So I got a ride out to just where by the airport there, and I got out and I was walking down the road to go to my truck. And my sergeant came out, and of all the things he said was, Walt's dead. Just like that. I mean, Walt's dead. And I go, well, why? He was just alive here a while ago. Somebody gave him a ride back in the car, him and a couple other of our boys. And he was drunk, and he lost control of the car and took out a hydro pole and killed 2 of the boys in there, and the 3rd one was injured. I could have been in that car, but I wasn't. But it just tore me apart. I sat for 2 days in the front of that truck and cried. I couldn't stop. He was my buddy. It happens an awful lot to the military, too, when somebody goes like that. So Sergeant Major asked me if I'd escort his buddy back to his parents out in BC. And I said, definitely, I will. So that's what I did when we loaded him on the plane and took him out there. And wherever that body went, I went with it until the last time, and it was underground. And then I had to get back out to BC again. And but so that's the way it is. And even some of my friends that have just died since I've been out of the armed forces now. And one of them, a friend of mine, we just had a funeral about 2 weeks ago. And so he's gone now. And his wife is gone, and one of the other guys was within our right of a circle of 6. There was 3 guys and their wives. And every Tuesday we would go to different restaurants in downtown Calgary here, not downtown, but on the highway. And gradually, one of them, the older one, he passed away. And then next to that was the next older one guy, his wife passed away. And then after that was the wife of the first guy that passed away. And then just recently, we buried the last guy that passed away. That just left the wife and I. We are looking at each other kind of dubious. Who's going first? No, not really. I've had her for 64 years. I'm not going to part with her that easy. Yeah, I know. It doesn't happen nowadays, does it, eh? Yeah. We have set a record in our family. We have been married longer than any other couple ever in our family. And it just happens that one of the wives, my wife is German. But you never know it because she speaks perfect English and she can read and write English too. And so now, but yeah, we are great friends and still together. She couldn't come today, but that's okay, I'm here. She's probably sitting there watching the clock, when am I going to get home? And my dog my dog goes crazy if I'm not there. Yeah. So if you got any questions, maybe I could put yourself straight on something. You maybe have to speak up. There, how's that better? Any questions? Hands up. You know, I can go to a kindergarten and get faster answering questions than that. I will be going to one. I got 2 more schools to go to after you guys. Yeah. So, oh, come on. Don't be bashful. You won't put this you won't put me on no stand or nothing like that. But come on. Okay, I'll tell you what. When I was on basic training, this is a good one. You're gonna like this one. One time there on basic training, I had 7 seconds to live. Oh, that got you to think up, doesn't it? You had 7 seconds to live? Yeah. The sergeant took us out on a grenade range one day. You all know what a hand grenade looks like, basically, eh? Okay, so there I am, and sitting in the waiting bay, and the sergeant's in the throwing bay, and he says, prepare to throw. And I said, I haven't even got a grenade. So the guy up in the tower, that was him hollering, eh? Prepare to throw. So I ran into the throwing bay, and I put my hand out like that, and the sergeant put this grenade in my hand, and I looked, and there was a ring. I pulled the ring off, and I forgot the lever was out here. I pulled the pin out, and that lever flew off. I now have 6. 5. You better get rid of this thing. So I just got down and dropped it over the wall, and boom, off it went. So there. So then anyways, the second grenade, it was okay, no problems. Then the third grenade, I get up there, and I'm a bit of a humorist, always was. I said to my sergeant, I said, Sarge, you know something? What? He says, you know that first grenade you give me? He said, yeah. I says, I'm right-handed, right? And you put that in my hand? I said, that was a left-handed grenade, you see? That lever should have been over here. Oh, get out of here, he says. So that's the way I went through life. You have to sometimes be humorous. And I could tell you all kinds of stories. Like not too long ago, I was going to go into this store, and I saw this lady coming. So I reached and opened the door for her, like a Boy Scout. opened the door for him, and she come out, she says, "Oh, thank you, sir." And I says, "You don't have to call me sir, ma'am. I was only a corporal, but so was Hitler." Well, she just burst out laughing, and that was humorous. And I says, "Never trust a corporal." You all the old people know what Hitler did, don't you? Eh? I hope you know, anyways, yeah. But, so that's what I do. I do things like that. I walk into a store, and I can't be in there 5 minutes, I've got somebody smiling at me. Or laughing, I don't know. Yeah, I go into like the co-op store, they all know me. When I walk in, they say, "Oh my God, he's back." It's not too bad, I got my grandson working in there now too. And, oh, yeah, we were in Costco one day, this is another story. And while the wife was doing some shopping, I went over and there's a lady there demonstrating dishwashers. And I sat there and I got real serious. I can do that sometimes. And I said, "Excuse me, ma'am." She said, "Yes." I said, "Are those things poisonous?" And she says, "Well, golly, I don't know." She said, "I imagine they could be." She says, "Why?" I says, "I'm the dishwasher." Right? Those people that don't have a dishwasher machine, so, yeah, that's me. Yeah. So it's just these little jokes. And well, I'll tell you one that really happened to me. This is last year. When my son-in-law and I always go to the Jubilee Auditorium for Remembrance Day. If you're ever going to go to the Jubilee, you get a ticket when you go in. It gives you, you know where you're going to sit. You don't have to wait and hang around the lineup. You go in there and sit down. And anyways, we went up there for that. And I went through the whole procedure and everything else. Well, then afterwards, we went down along Memorial Drive where all the crosses are set up. Have you ever seen them? They're beautiful, aren't they? Do you believe that the guys that put them up are motorcycle gang? All ex-military motorcycle guys. And that's what they did. They come along and they put all those crosses up. And as soon as the service is finished, they start to take them down and put them back down in storage. And get them all set to come out again every year. That's what they do. So anyways, while I was standing there, and I was just like I am now, and this little boy, about this high, he couldn't have been much than that, he comes up and he says, "Hi, Mr. Blake." And I looked at him, I said, "Oh, hi, how you doing?" I don't know what school he was from or what his name was, but I knew he knew me. So he says to his mom, and I said, "Yeah, how you doing?" "Great," you know. So then he turned to his mother and he says, "Mom, this is Mr. Blake. He's the man that tells us the stories." It's like in the schools. And I said, I made it. If that little kid can remember me, so can a lot of people. I think I've made a few people around here probably say hello if you ever see me. But it won't be like this. No, I normally dress in, whatever. But, so that's pretty much about that. And trying to think if there are any other stories, clean ones, that... Yeah, Army guys, you know, they can really tell some good stories. I'll tell you one. Oh, no, this is okay. There was 5 kids in our family. We had 3 girls and then a boy and then me. I was the youngest one. And so my mom was my mom, she was in the hospital. She just had the baby. And my dad comes in and he says, "What are we going to give him for a middle name?" My mom looked at him and says, "Enough." Sense of humor too, eh? Yeah. Enough, yeah. So, oh, there must be some more. Yeah. Yeah, my second oldest daughter, she lives down in California now, and she had, she just had one boy. I think it was a boy, yeah. Yeah, she just had one boy there. He grew up there, and he married an American girl, and they had 4 kids. They had 2 boys and then a girl and then another boy. So the first 2 boys had brown hair. The third boy, the girl, had black hair. Her dad was a Mexican. And then the last one, when he was born, he had flaming red hair. And I said, whoa, don't get excited. It's nothing serious. We're ancestors from the Irish. The Irish come over to Canada from when they had the potato salmon, and they spread out all over the place. My dad was Irish and everything else, and so that's why now he's my favorite little guy. Yeah, because he's Irish. Oh, golly gee. What else can we talk about? Yes. Okay, now, you ever go to the museum over here? You go to the museum? When you come in the front doors and you look to your right, what do you see? There's a big old tank sitting down there, and it's got a crew commander on the top and an infantry on the bottom. Those are the kind of tanks I was driving when I first joined up. That's the Sherman. And then when we got to Germany, pardon me? Yes? What was that again? Oh, I wish I could hear you. Why did I go to the Army in the first place? Because World War with Korea started. And our family has to get into a war. That's why. And that's why I asked my dad if it was okay if I went and joined up. And he says if I was young enough, I'd go with you. And, but that's why I went and joined right up. And the recruiting officer asked if I wanted to go in the infantry. And I said, no, I want to be a tank driver. Okay, so that's what I did for the first year I was in the Army. I drove the Sherman tanks up in Ipperwash, or Petawawa. And then when we went over to Germany, we got the Centurion tank, which was a British tank, and it was much bigger than the Sherman. And, but you could always tell it was British because it had a right-hand drive. You all know what the difference is between us and the British, eh? We drive on the left, they drive on the right. You go on the wrong side of the road and all that stuff. Yeah, so that's, I'm sorry, go ahead. To what? To how learn how to drive them? You mean how long to take to drive them?
No, how long did it take for you to get corporal?
Oh, well, I think it wasn't too long before I got out, but anyways. Yes, I was a craftsman. That was a mechanic. Eh? We're the guys that repair things, anything too big and anything too small. Big or small, we fix them all. There was even, yes, all coming back into your tanks and that, yeah. It didn't take me long to learn how to drive a tank, but it was just the waiting stuff and that. But so I went to the NCO course, and here in Calgary, with this attached to the Strathconas, and I finished that with a breeze. Turns out I was one of the leaders all the time, and they didn't understand why, because I had, like you say, the gift of the gab. Eh? Every time we had something, I'm the one that did all the talking. Oh yeah, I had a lot of fun. Hmm? Somebody else got a question? Pardon me? It's going to be awesome. Oh, yeah. Is that it? How about that? I've been hobnobbed. Oh, right. Hey, if you guys want me back sometime for some fun, give me a call, eh? When we can spend a bit of time with you guys. Thank you. Oh, incidentally, if you want to take my picture, that's okay too, but let me know and don't put it in the news until I find out about it, okay? It's happened before. Thank you very much. Oh, watch me go down the stairs.
Thank you. The tradition of observing Remembrance Day on November 11th began with the signing of the peace agreement at the end of World War I in 1918. It was established to honor and remember the men, women, and children who were killed or injured in the war, and as a time to pray and strive for continued peace. Since that time, World War II and other conflicts have continued to deeply affect the people throughout the world. Today in Canada and in many other parts of the world, we continue to set aside this date. We choose with each generation to carry on this important tradition of remembering and reflecting. At this time, I'd like to invite our grade 8 music class to the stage as they perform See You Again.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. I've come a long way from where we began. Well, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Why'd you have to leave so soon, yeah? Why'd you have to go? Why'd you have to leave me when I needed you the most? 'Cause I don't really know how to tell you without feeling much worse. I know you're in a better place, but it's always gonna hurt. Carry on. Give me all the strength I need to carry on. It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell
Thank you. As has become our tradition at Masters, we will now honor the veterans from our Masters family through a slideshow presentation. Out of respect, we ask that you remain seated and quiet throughout this presentation. Following this presentation, please remain seated as our grade representatives join us carrying and laying wreaths in honor of major conflicts on behalf of their grades.
My name is Fraser Mayo. I'm laying this wreath on behalf of the grade 7 class in honor of World War I.
My name is Nigella Liebenhagen, and I lay this wreath on behalf of the grade 8 class in honor of World War II.
My name is Aiden Capon. I am laying this wreath on behalf of the grade 9 class in honor of the Korean War.
My name is Azalea Redfern. I am laying this wreath on behalf of the grade 10 class in honor of the wars in the Middle East.
My name is Jack Howard, and I'm laying this wreath on behalf of the grade 11 class in honor of the Afghanistan War.
My name is Aisha Roberts, and I lay this wreath on behalf of those currently serving.
Without borders, let me walk upon the waters. our trust is without borders. Let me walk upon the waters, wherever you would call me. Take me deeper than my feet could ever wander, and my faith will be made stronger in the presence of my Savior. And I will call upon your name and keep my eyes above the waves. When oceans rise, my soul rests in your embrace. I am yours, and you are mine.
Thank you, Jenna and Mason. The last post was originally a bugle call used in the British Army camps to signal sunset at the end of the day. Now it's used to commemorate those who have fallen in war. Following the last post, we pause for a moment of silence. 30 seconds to remember World War I and 30 seconds to remember World War II. After the moment of silence, we will hear the Reveille, which is traditionally played at sunrise as the day started. It is played at sunrise as the day started. It is played following at the moment of silence to symbolize the new life we have been given through the sacrifices of the soldiers who fight for our freedoms. During the moment of silence, we encourage you to think of those who have fought for our freedom and those who are currently serving. Please rise for the last post, a moment of silence, and then the revelry, played by Johnny Summers. Following the revelry, we will be seated, and as we invite Saturday Life to the stage as they perform Charlie Boy by the Lumineers. Please be seated.
Charlie boy, don't go to war. First born in 44. Kennedy made him believe we could do much more.
We would like to thank everyone for being part of our Remembrance Day ceremony. To close our ceremony, I would like to invite the senior music class up to the stage to perform Landslide. Don't forget to remember those who have given their lives for our freedom and peace. Thank you. God bless.
Took my love and I took it down. I climbed a mountain and I turned around, and I saw my reflection in the snow-covered hills, till the landslide brought me down.
Oh, mirror in the sky, what is love? Can the child within my heart rise above? Can I sail through the changing ocean tides? Can I handle the seasons of my life? Children get older, and I'm getting older too.
landslide.